Hey everyone, Charlie Morgan here, and in this quick video, I'm going to show you how to make your first $1 million whilst you have a 9-to-5. Now, I know how to do this because I did this myself when I was 18 years old. I had a 9-to-5 in sales in an office job, in a small office, at my desk at my computer from 9 to 5. By the time I was 21 years old, I'd made $1 million and I was basically a millionaire and was able to quit my job and support myself. And so what I'm going to do in this quick video is show you how to do this. Now, quick preface in this video, I have nothing to sell you. There is nothing you can buy by the end of this video. Everything here is completely free. So without further ado, let's begin with the process. So I basically have 6 steps for you to allow you to do this. And the first step is find something to sell. The only way you're going to make money is if you have something to sell, whether that is a product, a skill, or anything, your liver, right? You probably shouldn't sell your organs, but you need to have something to sell, okay? And the easiest way to do this is basically to look at 2 things. So what you want to do is you want to isolate what are people willing to buy and what can you do? And what you want to then do is you want to find the thing in the middle of these 2 things, and that's basically what you sell. It's pretty simple. If you're currently working as a software engineer in your 9-to-5, or let's say that you're working as a manager of a supermarket store or whatever, what you want to do is you want to find what you're good at and what you know how to do, and then what people buy. And if you don't have any skills that people will buy, then you need to learn them. And you can learn them pretty easily by just spending probably 100 hours on YouTube. But we'll talk about that in a second. So that's the first stage to figuring out what to sell. The alternative is finding a proven model. So you can either do this in one of 2 ways. You can learn a skill, find a skill, and start selling that skill, or you can start a business using a proven model, like SMMA, the AI automation agency model, dropshipping, Amazon FBA, copywriting, more of a skill really, isn't it? But you know, you can find a proven model.
Everyone, it's Future Charlie here, and I want to take a quick second to tell you about Imperium Academy, which is a free 6-week training program that I've created over the course of a year. This shows you everything about how to start a business and achieve financial freedom and get to $10,000 a month with a new business from scratch. It walks you through everything step by step, from how to pick a niche, how to create an offer, all the way through how to deliver a service and actually start selling and booking appointments and getting clients. So it's completely free. It's the most comprehensive training on the planet that shows you how to get the first client, how to get the financial freedom, and how to start an online business. So click the link in the description. No credit card required. Let's carry on the video.
You might already have in mind the kind of business you want to start, but literally, if you go on YouTube after this video and just search best businesses to start for beginners in 2026 or 7 or whatever it is, then you're going to find a bunch of different business models that work, and all you've then got to do is consume every piece of content you have. This is the second step: consume everything. So the key to getting good at something, or learning a skill, or learning what to sell, is to find every single piece of free content available specifically about that thing, put it in a spreadsheet. So make a list of all the YouTube videos, all the podcasts, everything you can find, put it in a spreadsheet and just watch the entire spreadsheet. The question then becomes, well, Charlie, how do I manage my time? Because if you're working 9 to 5, you need to really get a grip on your time, because as it is, you're working full time. How the hell are you supposed to start a business or sell something in your spare time because you have none? Well, let me show you something that I realized when I was 18 years old that helped me break out of the 9 to 5 before it even began. Manage your hours. So let's have a little look at step 3, managing your hours. First of all, there are 24 hours in a day, okay? And you spend 8 of them working, and 1 hour of that is probably on your lunch break. So realistically, let's take these 24 hours that we've got. You need to sleep 8 hours a night, otherwise you're gonna get a bit weird. You could get away with 7, but there's more leverage in sleeping an extra hour to keep yourself sane and emotionally healthy. As it is right now, you're working 9 to 5. Now, what I'm actually gonna do is say that only 7 of these, because you get a lunch break. So what that means is you get an extra hour up here. So what this means is that in your life, you still have 9 hours to play with. And the reason that most people in 9 to 5s stay broke, stay stuck, and don't make progress or make any money is because they don't use their extra 9 hours. Now, let's say that you have a commute, okay? Fair enough, you have a commute. So that takes away one of these hours because you're driving and you can't really work when you're driving. However, you can consume the content when you possibly can. What this means is, you lose an hour to the commute, but you still have 8 hours left over. But let's say that you've got kids, and you've got some kids to look after, but maybe you've got like a wife at home or something because you're working full time and she takes care of the kids, or I don't know. But let's say that for the sake of school runs, parents' evenings, or whatever else might be happening in your life personally, you've got familial obligations that no matter what you have to attend to. So you take away 1, 2, and maybe let's even say 3 hours. What this means is that realistically, you still, even after everything, have 5 hours a day, which might not seem like a lot, but considering right now at your 9 to 5, you work for 7 hours, you still have nearly an equal amount of time to work on your business or work on selling your skills, okay? Let me walk you through my routine when I had my apprenticeship, okay? So I would wake up at 5 a.m. and I wanted to take care of my body and my health, so I still had to get 8 hours of sleep and I still had to go to the gym. I would gym first thing in the morning, and by 6 a.m. I'd be home, I'd be showering, etc. At 6:30, I would drive to work. Now, here's the thing, right? Is my work, my office job, didn't start until 9:30 a.m. because I had a 9 to 5, okay? And so what this meant is by 7 o'clock, I was in the car park of my work, ready to work. And so I didn't actually start my day until 9:30. And so what this meant is I had, 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, basically, all these hours here, to work on business. And so literally what I would do is I would bring my laptop, I would bring my phone and my hotspot, so the little hotspot, because I couldn't go into my office to use their Wi-Fi because they know what I was doing, and I would sit in my car, in my Vauxhall Corsa, in the freezing cold in the winter, sometimes in the summer, obviously, and I would pop my little MacBook up on my steering wheel, recline as far back in my seat as I could, and I would work. for 2.5 hours, from 7 until 9:30. And then what I would do is I would start my work at 9:30 until 1 o'clock. And at 1 o'clock, I had my lunch break, but what I would do on my lunch is I would eat a Tesco, if any of you live in the UK, you'll know what I mean, a Tesco meal deal. It was a Southern fried chicken job, coconut water, and Sensations, the spicy ones. If you know, you know, if you're in the UK. It doesn't matter if you don't. So, I would work on my lunch for another hour, and what this consisted of was making cold calls for my business. So I would cold call on my lunch for an hour, I would cold call 2.5 hours before my work started, which meant that by this point, I was like nearly 4 hours of work done before the day had even really begun in lunchtime. Then I would continue working until 1600, for my 9 to 5, which was in sales. Now, here's the cool thing, because I was doing an apprenticeship in the UK, and you will not have this luxury if you have a normal job, the last hour of my day had to consist of something called on-the-job training. I was doing an apprenticeship, which meant that I had to do coursework in conjunction with my work. What I did for the first 2 months of my apprenticeship was get every piece of coursework for the year done in 2 months. The handler, my college handler, said to me, he was like, no one's ever done this before, like, how have you managed to do this so quickly? And it was basically because what I did for the first 2 months is I knew, like, I've got to clear this coursework, because this is an extra hour in the day. Because what most people do with their on-the-job training is they spend the last hour of their college day, of their work day, doing this on-the-job training. What I did is I spent the first 2 months of my apprenticeship spending every waking hour I had spare doing my coursework, doing all the training and stuff and submitting it, getting it marked, getting it through, and then that meant that I had an hour every day for the rest of the year to do this. My apprenticeship was supposed to be 18 months, I did it in 12 months and 1 day. What this meant is during the last hour, I still had to do on-the-job training because legally, the company had to, by some weird law for the government, had to train me. And so what I did is I went to my boss and said, look, instead of you building some training program for me, how about I just spend my time doing courses on sales, okay? And so what I would do for the last hour is I would do a course, specifically a course by a gentleman of the name Sam Ovens. And it was a course on how to start a business. And yes, there was some sales training in there, but it wasn't really. So I would 2 times speed watch this as fast as I could. 6-week course, I cleared it in a couple of weeks. And then I would use this to rewatch that course over and over and over again. And so every single day I was watching a course by someone that had actually done it, someone that actually made some money. It was great. Then I would drive home by 7:30. So I'd be home by 7:30, sorry, not 7:30, 17:30, by 5:30. And at this point, I would then eat. So I ate a very simple diet during this time. Usually it was whatever my mum would have cooked me at the time, but it was usually pretty straightforward food. Or on the way back, I would just pick up some rice and some beef mince and just eat that as quickly as I could. And then by about, honestly, I'm not even joking, by 6:30, I was working again. So I'd do more work here, and then at about 8:30, I would finish work plus Call of Duty for an hour. So I would quick scope on Call of Duty World War II for an entire hour. It was my way to decompress my brain before going to bed. And then at 9:30, I was asleep. So when people tell me, Charlie, I can't start a business or I can't make money with a 9 to 5, you absolutely can. All you have to do is basically learn how to utilize the hours that you have available the best. And so I had, 2.5 hours in the morning, an hour on my lunch break, an hour at the end of my day, and then 2 hours after I'd finished work. And so we got 6 hours. I found an extra 6 hours to do my business. By the time I'd finished my apprenticeship, which took an entire year, because by law it has to be at least 12 months in 1 day, I quit my apprenticeship on the 1 day after the year, and I then basically, at that point, I think I was making about $6,000 a month. So more, double, triple, really, what I was making in my apprenticeship. You can do it. And if you've got kids and if you've got obligations, it's going to be harder, but there's still no excuse. You can absolutely still do it. You just have to learn to find the time and manage your time ruthlessly and be absolutely ruthless with your time. So step 4 is try your best at work. This might sound counterintuitive because you're like, well, I'm doing my 9 to 5, I hate my 9 to 5, I want to quit my 9 to 5. But what you want to learn to do is see your 9 to 5 as a sandbox, as a training opportunity for you to develop the habits of having an extremely strong focused work ethic. Because if you can learn to focus really heavily and work really bloody hard at a job you hate, then when it comes to start your business or working for yourself, it's going to be really easy for you to work. In ancient Rome, the soldiers had a saying called cry in training, laugh in battle. This is the same thing. If you put everything you've got into your 9 to 5 and work as hard as you can, it's going to be horrible and disgusting because it's work that you hate. But if you try your best and you put everything you can into this, when you come to actually have your business full time and work for yourself full time, it's going to feel like a walk in the park, and it's going to feel really easy because you've built the habit of working really hard. Now, step 5 is a big one. Suck up to your boss or boss's boss. You basically have an opportunity here to learn from someone who knows more than you about managing people, about running a company. When I had an apprenticeship, I was lucky to work for a small business where my boss was the owner of the business, and he was basically making, I think, 6 figures running this business that he had. And so I would spend as much time as I could around him, learning from him, asking him questions. I wouldn't say narcissistically appealing to his ego, but I played the game pretty well. And I would spend as much time as I could with this guy, learning from this guy, asking him as many questions as I could. I would make his coffees for him. I would run his errands for him. I would help him do anything that he needed just for time with him so I could learn. And the key here is you've got to be a sucker. You've got to be that guy that everyone in the office hates because you're so obsessed with pleasing the boss. I'll give you another story. When I worked for Clarks HQ, you know the shoes, Clarks shoes? Maybe you don't, but in the UK they're quite big for school shoes and stuff. It's a big company in the UK. They're headquartered in Somerset, which is where I grew up, in the southwest of the UK. There was the CEO of the company, of Clarks Shoes. Big deal. He's a very rich guy, you know, because Clarks Shoes is a massive bloody company. Super successful guy. He was coming into our office because I worked in Clarks customer care. This was before my apprenticeship. But anyway, I was on the phones like dealing with like women who had bought their like kids' shoes for school and then basically didn't arrive, and it was a nightmare. And this guy's name was Mike Sherwood. He's no longer the CEO of Clarks Shoes. In fact, he was fired pretty promptly afterwards, but he was a very successful CEO, but he was fired by the board. Anyway, he was a millionaire, had a Ferrari, knew a lot more than me. I knew he was coming to Clarks customer care, coming specifically to my department on a Wednesday afternoon. Usually I had Wednesday afternoons off, okay? So what I did, because I knew he was coming in, is I came in on Wednesday afternoon, I put my best shirt on, I put my best trousers on, and I waited in the office, and everyone was like, why the hell are you in here? I was like, because the CEO's coming in, I want to talk to him. They all thought I was insane and I was gonna get fired. The CEO comes in, he goes to the beeline straight to the manager's sort of box office where I couldn't access, and I sort of waited around, and the second he came out of that, I went up to him and said, hey Mike, my name's Charlie, one day I really want to start a business, you're a successful business person, can I just talk to you for 2 minutes to learn a little bit about how to do that? And he sort of looked at me, sort of looked at his watch a second, I could see that he had 100 things to do, and he sort of went, yeah, sure, no worries. He invited me in to the manager's office, right, in the bloody office, and then was just sort of like, yeah, so what do you want to know? And I was like, okay, and I had like a list of questions on my notepad prepared, asked him those questions, he answered those questions, and then I was like scrawling these notes down frantically. I only had 10 minutes with him, but I learned more in those 10 minutes about how to run a business successfully, how to be a CEO, how to manage people than I had in the last year of just working in the Clarks customer care thing. And then afterwards, everybody judged me for it in the office, and they were like, what a brown nose, what an idiot. But now I am now a multi-millionaire, and they're still working in Clarks customer care. And so, what do you know? You've got to be willing to do these things to get the result you want. You can judge me for it if you want, but it works. The acquisition of knowledge and the application of that knowledge from people far further ahead than you is a good thing to have if you're willing to get past the judgment. Now, step 6 is find a course or mentor. There's lots of free things out there. You shouldn't buy anything, okay? Because, well, I bought mine, but basically the point I'm making is when I was doing this, I needed someone to point the way for me, and that person was Sam Ovens, who's now a software billionaire, but you can't access any of Sam's courses anymore because he doesn't sell them and he doesn't make them available, so you can't get them. However, what you want to try and do is find a person who basically has done what you want to do and knows what you need to know, and just follow them and learn from them. You can find them online. It's hard to find this in person. I had my boss at the time, fortunately enough, but that might not be a luxury that you have. But find a mentor or find a course. But if you want a surefire way, something you can follow to the T and actually execute on, just go to school.com. There's a link in the description. You can register for free. It's a 6-week training program that is completely free. Again, I'm not, maybe saying it a bit too much now, a bit suspicious, right? And you can go through a step-by-step process that I've created over the course of a year in 6 weeks. It took me a year to build. You can do it in 6 weeks, and you can get your first client, make your first $1,000 online, and you can do this alongside your 9 to 5. We've had 40,000 people go through it already, and I think we've had like hundreds of people get their first couple of clients and make some money online. So it's pretty worth doing. You don't have to use mine. There's lots of them out there. There's lots of different people out there you can learn from and study and focus on. But if you want like a sort of easy step-by-step process, you can just use my free course. Link in the description. But that's literally how to break out of the 9 to 5 rat race. I've done it myself. I've made millions of dollars online having executed on this and do this, and I was able to replace my full-time income with my own business within just over a year, or under a year of doing this when I had a 9 to 5 job. So I hope this video helps, and have a wonderful day. Take care.